Welcome to Ahead of the Times, where, because of our healthcare systems, only one of us can afford to break a leg.
Politician photoshops a black person next to them. Will they be MS Painted, a racist?
Kobani fights back against ISIS. Will we be making cheesy jokes about Kurds?
The Federal Reserve ends quantitative easing. Are they fed up with whatever that is? For the latest on Britain's National Health Service, we go to our senior Enjoy It While It Lasts correspondent, Ola.
The UK National Health Service, or as it's known in the US, a Socialist Institute of Death Panels, recently outlined a plan for how it would stabilize costs over the next 5 years. And this document was so hotly anticipated, people were waiting out the door, though most of them had been in line for 6 months for surgery. The report warned that £8 billion was what was needed to save the NHS, which is roughly the same amount the NHS spends on mental health problems in pregnancy. So, would you guys please stop sexing these crazy women? It'd really help out. She's already nuts. She doesn't need yours. The document floats the idea of hospitals having franchises like McDonald's or Starbucks in a shopping centre. Imagine that. You could go to JD Sports, then pop next door for a gastric bypass surgery, and then grab McDonald's on the way out. Moorfields Eye Hospital announced they already have 28 clinics around London, but I'm worried because I haven't seen one. It was at the end of last month that a 91-year-old war veteran gave an impassioned speech at the Labour conference warning Prime Minister David Cameron,
"Mr. Cameron, keep your mitts off my NHS."
Which translated for Americans,
"You can't touch this."
Privatising healthcare, like the US, could hurt one of Britain's national treasures, the ability to look down on Americans. With our financial and healthcare systems faltering, we'd only have our educational system to lord over them. Can you imagine that, Toby?
Who said what now? Shit.
Maybe we shouldn't worry. Coming in a close second is that poor people may not get the healthcare that they need. Like, remember when you were a child, your doctor wanted to check your knee reflexes? You could be sure of one thing.
Have a time.
But if a corporation decided they're no longer doing those checks, you could end up moving around all funny and not even realize it.
Hold on here a goddamn minute. I think there's a few too many puns in this here episode. I predict you're gonna have to stuff some of those video puns.
It's my segment. I'll make the predictions. Mr. Muresianu,
Keep your mitts off my
segment. And I think you'll find when it comes to video puns, I'm...
Well then, I think after listening to all your British bullshit about how American medical system is the #1 medical system in the world, you know what I think you're gonna find? I think you're gonna find revenge is a dish best served cold. Now for the latest on the Middle East, let's go to our senior, let someone else do the talking correspondent, Ola.
Kae Kurd. Hey man, thanks for coming on Ahead of the Times.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, your pleasure. Kae Kurd, that's the name we're using?
Yes.
All right, cool. You know what we're here to discuss. First of all, is it pronounced Cobain or Kobani?
It's Kobani.
Yeah,
Kobani.
would have been too easy.
It's Kobani.
Sorry, shoot me now. Kurt Cobain. I know, I blew it. I'm sorry. It's off the top of my head. Okay, what's the relationship? Let's start again. Sorry. Okay, what's the relationship between Kurds and Turks right now?
Well, the relationship between Turkey and Kurds is a quite complex one. Is very fractious, if that's a good word to use.
Is it a friendly rivalry like Tottenham and Arsenal, or something more intense like Kanye West and Humility?
It's a lot more intense than Kanye West and Humility.
A lot more intense than that.
Yeah, it's a lot more intense than that. The Turkish government employs a very racist attitude towards Kurds, and it would rather see Kurds slaughtered by ISIS than it would seeing Kurds free.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, how do you personally feel about Turkish people, and how does that affect you in kebab shops?
It doesn't really affect me in kebab shops. I tend to look at people as individuals. I have a strong dislike for the Turkish government and the Turkish army, and the political views that a lot of Turkish hardliners follow.
Okay. Do you ever have Turkish delight, or do you believe Turkish people should have nothing to be delighted about?
I don't actually have Turkish delight, no. And I think that's for you to decide.
Where were you born?
I was born in a Kurdish city called Sakız.
Called what, sorry?
Sakız.
Sakız. Okay, okay. You ever been back?
No, because it's actually under Iranian control, and they actually execute pretty much any Kurd that speaks out against the Iranian regime. So yeah, but my parents are originally from Iraqi Kurdish cities, so yeah, Iraqi Kurdistan. So yeah, but
it's a likely story for immigration. So, can you join the Kurdistan Workers' Party if you're on benefits?
no, I don't think that. I find that question quite offensive to me. But yeah, I think you could join the Kurdistan Workers' Party if you believe in the ideals of the PKK.
PKK has many female fighters. Would you date one of them?
I think that's quite sexist and misogynistic.
Sexy?
Sexist.
Sexy.
PKK fundamentally has a feminist wing to it as well. They understand that, you know, freedom isn't merely something that the male is entitled to. Kurdish female fighters have the same rights as male fighters, and they fight on the front lines, no different to men.
Okay. Should Kurdistan be independent, or should it just have some rights and some autonomy?
Kurdistan should be independent. You've got 40 million people that are stateless, who share a common culture and a common language. I have more in common with Kurds from Iran, Turkey and Syria than I do with an Arab from Baghdad.
Do you ever gig out in Kurdistan?
No, I haven't gigged out in Kurdistan.
Damn. Do you know anyone who books that?
Not at the moment, but I've actually been. I actually got interviewed by a Kurdish radio station recently, and they told me to bring stand-up comedy back there. So who knows? I may call upon your services one day.
Go out there and entertain the troops.
No, well, may not be the troops.
Okay. Could you just teach us some Kurdish? Maybe like how to say, subscribe to Ahead of the Times.
There's not really a word for subscribe as it is on YouTube, but if you wanted to say follow us,
yes.
Duaman Cohen, Lasser Ahead of the Times.
What he said. That's awesome, man. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate that, man. For the latest on Republican voters, let's go to our white senior correspondent, Toby.
Republican governor of Pennsylvania Tom Corbett's re-election campaign has been criticized for photoshopping a black person into a website graphic. But give him a break, he's a 60-year-old Republican. It's not like he knows Photoshop. And to be fair, he photoshopped everyone in that website graphic. He's down by 15 points. It's hard for him to find anyone who'll be seen with him in public. It's not the first time he's made a faux pas. When asked by a Spanish newspaper reporter if he had any Latinos in his cabinet, he said, "If you know one, let me know." On the bright side, at least he's admitting they're not taking all of our jobs. This website graphic's pretty racist, don't you think, Ola?
I think it's disrespectful to those with honest website graphics. Here's the time I performed for Mel Gibson and Paula Deen in an apartment I rented from Donald Sterling.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was just after I won the Grammy for Best Rap Album.
You had me going for a second. Black person winning Best Rap Album. The photo has since been taken down, and the campaign has given assurances that never again will the governor be seen around black people. I predict after Election Day, he'll look like this. And for the latest on the U.S. economy, we go to our new segment for children, ahead of the times for gifted kids and stupid adults. Announcement this week as the Federal Reserve expected to end its program of quantitative easing. Let's show how quantitative easing can be quantitative easy. Quantitative easing? What's that? Quantitative easing is the rad new trend everyone's talking about. And just like other trends, it's almost over. Who could forget the summer of 2008? Katy Perry on the radio, everyone playing Angry Birds, and quantitative easing, quantitative easing, quantitative easing. Quantitative eating sounds complicated. Oh, Timmy. Say you are a small business and the banks are your parents. You hate your parents. You blame them for everything, even if it's not their fault. Because they're mean, and they get together and make decisions in their room without telling you. And when you mess up, you get punished. But when your dad gambles away your college fund, that just means you don't go to college, and your dad gets bailed out by his parents, the government. Now, if times are tough, your parents might not want to lend you money. But it's important that you're lent money, because then you can buy lemonade from Sally. And then Sally can buy new shoes. And then the shoe salesman can buy pot from Sally's older brother. Everyone's happy. So maybe the grandparents see that nobody has any money. So they pay off some of your parents' credit cards with magic money grandparents always have. So your parents worry less and have more money. Now the grandparents want your parents to give your money to you. But first, they buy iPhone 6s while you still have a PlayStation 2 with one controller, resulting in a rising gap between their stuff and your stuff. It's still better than having broke-ass parents. But your grandparents can't keep giving your parents money forever, because then they wouldn't appreciate the value of a dollar. And they're grown-ass adults who need to take care of themselves. Well, why wouldn't Grandma just give me my allowance? Because your parents control your grandparents, since your grandparents are old and can't think on their own. Thanks, mister. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. No, you don't, Timmy. The bank still owns my house.
Thank you for watching Ahead of the Times, predicting the news since 2015. Please subscribe, share, and tune in next week to stay truly ahead of the times.